Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the Haar, or the Hair. I think it's the Haar. It's two A's. By David Sodergren. It does have this beautiful cover of this like fleshy thing with like a cyclops eye in the middle. And I will explain why that's relevant here in a second. And it says on the back, Muriel Macaulay has lived in the Scottish fishing village of Witch Haven all her life. She was born there and she intends to die there. But when an overseas property developer threatens to evict the residents from their homes and raze Witch Haven to the ground in the name of progress, all seems lost, ... until the day a mysterious fog bank creeps inland. The Haar. To some it brings redemption, ... To others it brings only madness and death. What macabre secrets lie within, ... The Haar. Romantic and deranged, The Haar is a gore-soaked folk horror fairy tale from David Sodergren, author of The Forgotten Island and Maggie's Grave. If you're familiar with this channel and you've seen me talk about some of David Sodergren's other books, you know that I really like this author. And I'll be honest, he writes really good novels, and this book is no different. I absolutely love this book. I love that he's doing a lot more folk horror because I was a huge fan of Maggie's Grave, and this is kind of in the vein of Maggie's Grave, but it is very different. It's not a straight up, it is a horror book, but a lot of the elements very much are kind of a fairy tale, and they kind of feel like you're reading a fairy tale in parts, and I very much enjoyed that. It was kind of a cool blend of genres, because what comes out of the Haar is this thing that is what Muriel meets, and it is kind of like this gushy eyeball that she takes home and rescues. And of course it can talk, so you kind of get almost a cosmic horror vibe. Or maybe not cosmic horror, because at no time does it mention being from outer space, but it is from the deep sea, right? It is this thing that's washed up from the deep sea that has now befriended this very, very old woman. And I thought that was very interesting. It very much made me think of like Cthulhu mythos and stuff like that, right? Like these sea kind of monstrosities that come up. But in this case, it did not drive her to abrupt madness. No, it is just hungry. And luckily for it, the town of Witch Haven is under siege by a greedy land developer from America who wants to turn the entire town into a golf course for him, his rich friends, and anyone else that can pay the money to get in. Since Muriel is one of only a few residents left, they are really willing to do whatever it takes to get her out. I did think the way that was shown was very interesting, in the way that it immediately makes me root for Muriel, right? Like, she could have done anything in this book, and I mean, outside of like setting a puppy on fire, I still would have thought that the land developers were the most evil people in the book, even compared to the Haar, right? I mean, their whole purpose right now is trying to shove old people out of their homes by any means necessary, which very much makes them seem like terrible people, and that's because they are, right? They are set up in this book as people who think that money means that they can do whatever they want, and a lot of people follow along with them because the town of Witch Haven was never very rich, so when the buyouts come, a lot of people jump at the chance. I also very much enjoyed the fact that our main character wasn't very young. I thought it was kind of interesting to read about a main character who was well into her, I think she's described as being in her 90s at this point, because I mean, she's not doing like gymnastics at any point, right? She's not running around. She can't physically fight the developers and make them turn their engines off and do, you know, all these things. She can just kind of yell at them. Right? Like, so there's a feeling of essentially, and she talks about this in the book too, of her feeling old and powerless, because she is into that age, and they all are. All the residents of Witch Haven that are left are into the age where their body has started to fail them. And I thought that was very interesting because it definitely gives you a different type of horror, right? I mean, it was scary reading about Muriel in certain situations because you realize, like, there's nothing she can do to get out of this. Whereas, like, when I read Sword and Sorcery or, you know, even just characters that are younger, a lot of times I'll get mad because I don't understand why they'll do certain things, because I'm like, hey, you're kind of strong, you know, fight your way out, or break a window and jump and run, or, you know, do one of these things to try to get away. But she can't. And I thought that went a long way into making, I mean, the book really scary. I mean, even her interactions with the Haar, right? At any time, the Haar could have killed her. There was, you know, there was no way for her to escape the thing from the beach that she brought home if it wanted to kill her at any point. And I thought that was really intriguing. And I also, you know, I liked the fact that it was kind of in the background, the folklore of Witch Haven, that weird things came from the fog. But at the same time, we're never given any concrete answers about a lot of the mysteries surrounding the fog and any sort of creatures that may or may not come out of it. So I thought that was a lot of fun. And I very much enjoyed just a lot of the things that were tackled in this book. I really don't want to ruin it because, so I'm trying not to give any spoilers, because I do think, you know, if you're watching this channel, you should definitely go out and get this book. You should read this book. If you like folk horror, if you like the Cthulhu mythos or any type of like sea-based aquatic horror, and especially if you like fairy tales, because like I said, this does feel like a fairy tale in a lot of parts of the book. And I think, you know, it's just all of that, like the story that's presented here feels both familiar and original in a way that I don't think I really see in fairy tale retellings that much. Right? Like, this felt like it could be a fairy tale, but at the same time, I couldn't put my finger on what fairy tale it could be. Where I feel like a lot of fairy tale retellings are essentially just word for word retellings with certain differences to make them more modern or more interesting. And I don't hate that. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of fairy tale retellings I really like. I just think this felt very original in the way that it felt like a fairy tale, but I couldn't, you know, I couldn't tell you like what fairy tale I thought this was. It just, the elements of it felt very familiar and at the same time completely fresh. I love this book. I'm very excited to see what David Sodergren is going to do next. I 110% believe that if you like folk horror, if you like horror at all, you should go out and give this book a chance, because I think you'll really enjoy it. And I don't really want to talk about it anymore, because I think if I do, I'm going to end up spoiling stuff, and I don't want to ruin anyone's chances of, you know, reading this book, because I think it's 110% worth it. If you've read the Haar, if you've read David Sodergren books, liked them, loved them, hate them, you know, let me know in the comments. And as always, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.